The name Alan Turing wasn't known until the Oscar-nominated movie The Imitation Game came out in 2014. Alan Turing's greatest achievement was cracking the Enigma machine, which Hitler used to encrypt and send classified messages over thousands of miles to the Nazi forces. Alan's work saved millions of lives and led the Allies to win the Second World War. Despite being a national hero, he was betrayed by his own country, and later he took his own life. Let's find out the story of Alan Turing, an extremely talented mathematician who cracked Hitler's Enigma machine. Alan Matheson Turing was born on the 23rd of June 1912 in London. His father, Julius, was posted to India as a civil servant, and his mother was the daughter of the chief engineer of Madras Railway. Alan's parents wanted their children to be raised in England, so they moved back to England. Due to his father's wealth, Alan Turing went to a top private school. At the age of 13, he went to boarding school. Alan was a committed student. He had to ride 97 kilometers on his bike on the first day of school due to public transportation protest. He was an outstanding athlete and ran a marathon in just 2 hours and 46 minutes, which is impressive even by today's standards. He almost got qualified for the Olympics, but an injury put a stop to his marathon dream. During his time in boarding school, he got interested in most complicated works of Einstein and Newton, after which the school of headmistress said, "A distinguished and gifted boy. We shall watch his future with much interest." In 1931, he went to the University of Cambridge to study mathematics, where he was awarded first-class honours in mathematics. After Cambridge, he was elected a Fellow of King's College. He further went on to pursue his PhD at Princeton in the USA. When he was 23 years old, he published his groundbreaking paper on the Turing machine, a mathematical model of a machine that could solve any problem and carry out any task for which a program could be written. This was in fact the world's first computer. During his time in Princeton, he built an electromechanical binary multiplier, a machine for multiplying binary numbers, which sparked his interest in cryptology. In 1938, when he returned to his fellowship at Cambridge University, he was recruited by the British government for Code and Cipher School, where the military was doing top-secret work to crack the codes of Enigma machines used by Germany and its allies. German armed forces used to send messages securely through Enigma machines. A team of Polish mathematicians had already discovered how to decipher Enigma messages and shared this knowledge with the British. They devised a machine called Bombe, which used German operating procedures to decode the message. But in 1940, Germans increased the security and changed the procedures of the Enigma machine, which made the Bombe useless. After that, in the spring of 1940, Alan Turing and codebreaker Gordon Welshman designed a related but very different code-breaking machine. Although this device was much better than Polish Bombe machines, but it required a long time to decipher any codes. Turing had to come up with a strategy that would enable the Bombe machine to break the code much more quickly. One day, Turing realized something. He discovered a loophole in the Nazis' encryption method. The discovery of this loophole allowed decoding of every single Enigma message that had been encrypted. So what was the loophole in the Enigma encryption code? Let's try to better understand this critical flaw with an example. Let's say you wanted to encrypt a message with a total of 3 words. Let's say the first word of the message is subscribe. Now, the first letter that you would want to encrypt is S. So, when you press the S key on the keyboard of the Enigma machine, an electric signal is generated that traveled through a lot of wires and rotors and ultimately generates up a different letter, say M. So the S in subscribe will be encrypted as M. The other words will be encoded similarly, but as entirely different letters. You typed subscribe this channel into one end of the Enigma machine, but the encrypted output could have read something like this. Have you noticed anything special about this encryption? Each letter was encoded as a letter distinct from itself. A letter was never encrypted in the same way as itself. Simply put, when you type S, it could be any of the 25 alphabets, but not S. The Enigma coding algorithm had only this flaw. But how did this flaw help in the cracking of the Enigma code? With the knowledge that a letter can be encrypted as any other letter besides itself, the total number of possible combinations reduced exponentially. Turing only required a word or a group of words that he was certain the Germans would use in each of their Enigma encrypted messages. What was that phrase? Heil Hitler. Every message that was encrypted was finished with the words Heil Hitler by the Germans. This seemingly insignificant error ultimately contributed to their defeat. Turing's method of decoding messages significantly reduced the work of the codebreakers. The Allies received a lot of military intelligence from Bombe. In early 1942, the Bletchley Park codebreakers were decoding about 49,000 intercepted messages per month and reached 84,000 messages per month. Thousands of British and American lives were saved as a result of Turing's work at Bletchley Park. His work led to the defeat of Germans and their surrender. In 1942, Turing also created the first systematical method for decrypting messages encoded by sophisticated German cipher machines, known as Turing. Turing was made an Officer of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire, or OBE, for his fascinating code-breaking work at the end of the war. After the war, Turing would devote the majority of his professional life to the development of modern computing. In 1943, he was assigned to work with the U.S. Navy's cryptanalytics section for some time. While there, he met Claude Shannon, the father of information theory, and they spoke about mathematical representations of computation and communication. To this day, Shannon's ideas form the foundation of our communications networks, while Turing's ideas form the basis of our computers, processors, and chips. Turing made such a significant contribution to modern computing that the prestigious A.M. Turing Award, also known as the Nobel Prize of Computer Science, is named in his honor. Turing received a high honor when he was named a Fellow of the Royal Society of London in March 1951, but his life was about to get much harder. After confessing to having a sexual relationship with a young Manchester man who resided with him in England, he was found guilty of gross indecency in March 1952, which was a crime in Britain at the time. Turing was able to avoid going to jail but lost his security clearances and had to undergo hormone therapy for a full year. Because of his criminal record, he would no longer be able to work for the Government Communications Headquarters, the British government's post-war code-breaking facility. In May 1953, Turing was appointed to a specially created readership in the theory of computing, where he spent the rest of his brief career working on what is now known as artificial life. In 1952, he released a book titled The Chemical Basis of Morphogenesis that contained his research on the development of form and pattern in living organisms. Turing tragically passed away from cyanide poisoning in 1954. His death was formally ruled a suicide. It wasn't until 1970s the story of Enigma was made public, that Turing's contributions to modern computer science, the field of cryptography, and the victory over the Axis powers in World War II could finally be acknowledged. The prosecution of Turing for being gay had gained popularity by the 21st century. In 2009, Gordon Brown, who was Prime Minister at the time for the British government, publicly apologized for Turing's utterly unfair treatment. Over 60 years after his conviction, Turing received a formal pardon from Queen Elizabeth II in 2013. Turing was a brilliant, far-sighted scientist whose research covered a remarkable range of topics. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more exciting content.